Okay, so this deep dive, it's one of those cases, the Golden State Killer just gets under your skin even after all the documentaries and books and everything. This reign of terror over a decade across California. It's just, I mean, how does someone like that just vanish for years?
It's the question, right? The one that haunted investigators, captivated everyone for so long. And the thing is, he wasn't some, shadowy figure. This guy was living a normal life, deservingly so. Joseph James D'Angelo, born in 35, Navy veteran.
And a police officer.
Police officer, can you imagine? The ultimate betrayal.
It's almost scarier than if he fit some, I don't know, profile, like a loner or something. You'd think someone committing these crimes, escalating in violence, they'd be on the fringes. But he was integrated, jobs, the whole bit. Makes you think, what's lurking beneath the surface of anyone, right?
Exactly, completely upends those preconceived notions about criminal behavior. Early life, as far as we know, totally unremarkable. But 1974, something changes. Enter the Visalia ransacker.
Over 120 burglaries, right? And then it escalates. That confrontation with Claude Snelling, the journalism professor, he'd even chased D'Angelo away from his daughter's window months before. Think about that.
Snelling. He had the courage to confront him again when D'Angelo tried to kidnap his daughter.
Tragic.
It cost him his life.
Yeah.
The Visalia period, it's the cat and mouse with the police that gets me. They were so close. Detective McGowan even shot at D'Angelo during a stakeout. The what-ifs.
Can you imagine a bullet in the dark? You almost wonder if that fueled him, that near miss. Because after Visalia, he's gone, resurfaces in Sacramento. And that's when the East Area Rapist begins. And the crimes, they become, I don't even know, a whole other level of calculated cruelty.
Absolutely. Terrifying progression. Starts with women home alone, then couples. After the media reports focus on the single victim pattern, like he was adapting, becoming bolder, more meticulous.
The bindings, shoelaces, the blindfolds, the threats, those specific details. And remember, the dishes.
Stacking dishes on the male victim's back. Threat of violence if there's a sound. It wasn't just assault, it was domination. A performance, almost. And that phrase, "I hate you, Bonnie."
Chilling. Investigators think maybe Bonnie was someone from his past, his ex-fiancée. Adds a whole other layer if it's true, a personal dimension, and not in a good way. But before they could make any headway with the East Area Rapist, he's gone again. This time, Southern California. 1979, the original Night Stalker.
And for years, nobody put it together. The original Night Stalker, the East Area Rapist, two different guys, right? But the DNA, years later, it told a different story.
3 different names, 3 different parts of California, but that same thread, that escalation, I don't know, how do you even start to understand the psychology of someone like that? Compartmentalizing the crimes, but then living this normal life on the surface.
It's a question that still fascinates, criminologists, psychologists. That level of premeditation, the planning, it speaks to control, a real disconnect from the suffering he's inflicting. And then you've got these details that are just...
Like the diamond knot at one of the crime scenes. So specific, they even had a new nickname for him for a while, just from that. Or, and this one gets me, he was seen eating leftover Christmas turkey at the Offerman Manning crime scene.
It's like he wanted to be a part of their lives, even after, to savor it. And you can't forget the mental aspect, the calls, the taunting, and there's the possibility of written stuff, too, like Excitement's Crave.
The poem.
Bailed to the press, almost like a challenge.
And that note, mad is the word, found at a crime scene, like he was playing with them.
And for decades, it's important to remember, the wrong people were investigated. Lives upended because they fit some profile or were just unlucky. It wasn't until DNA technology caught up that they were cleared.
Which brings us to D'Angelo's downfall, I guess you could say. Talk about a game changer. Forensic genealogy, that just blew the case wide open.
Like finding, I don't know, the specific grain of sand on a beach. They took the crime scene DNA, uploaded it to GDmatch, the public genealogy database, built out this family tree, distant relatives, birth records, the works. It was a long shot.
But it worked.
Narrowed it down to D'Angelo. Surveillance. Got a DNA match, discarded tissue. Sounds like something made up, but that's how it goes sometimes. Technology catches up.
And one of the longest, most terrifying crime sprees in the country, it's over. Arrested in 2018, his home, Sacramento. After all that time, living that double life.
The mask finally slipped. What a moment that must have been for the investigators to finally close that chapter. And for the victims, the families, to have answers after all this time.
Though even with the arrest, the guilty plea, the Golden State Killer, it stays with you. Forces you to think about the dark possibilities hidden beneath the surface of what we think of as ordinary.
And it really brought up those questions about using genetic information to solve crimes. Where's the
Well, that's a
law?
Pandora's box, right? Amazing tool for justice, but what about privacy in our digital age?
Exactly. D'Angelo had no clue that his distant relatives, doing their ancestry research, could lead to his doorstep. Changes how we think about sharing that information, even for something harmless, right?
And D'Angelo's case, this is where it all started, right? Since then, how many cold cases have been cracked using this? It's incredible, but it makes you wonder, where do we draw the line?
Yeah, legally, ethically, we're in uncharted territory. Should law enforcement be able to just access those databases without a warrant? How do we balance individual privacy with solving these horrific crimes? It's not easy, and it's only going to get more complex as the technology gets, more advanced.
Think about all those like true crime shows, right?
Yeah.
People send in their DNA, they want to find a long lost relative or some interesting ancestry thing. Who knew that same information could be used in a murder investigation?
That's it, right? That's the debate. D'Angelo's capture, it brought closure finally to all those families. But it also opened this new chapter in forensic science, and the implications we're just starting to grasp them.
It's like science fiction, but it's real. Makes you think, what's in our DNA and how will it be used someday?
It's a question that stays with you after a case like this one.
It does, and I think that's what's so fascinating about this deep dive into the Golden State Killer. It wasn't just about catching a monster, it was a turning point in how we solve crimes, how we think about genetic information. That's the stuff that'll keep you up at night.